this is that time of the day, right, that we just kind of, but I know that it's an important talk today, and so we're so thankful for you to be here today. And today we want to welcome Officer Steven Snyder. Officer Snyder is an 18-year veteran of the Oro Valley Police Department. He holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice policy and planning from Northern Arizona University. And during his law enforcement career, he has served in various assignments, including patrol, traffic enforcement, DUI enforcement, DEA task force, field training officer, lead police officer, Pima Regional Bomb Squad, and Community Resources Unit. And Officer Snyder is a proud Tucson native, graduating from Palo Verde Christian, which is now, as many of us know, Push Ridge Christian Academy, before serving 7 years in the U.S. Marine Corps. And so we want to thank Officer Snyder for being here today, for your service to our community. So let's give him a warm resurrection welcome. Thank you, Officer Snyder.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Are we on? Is this thing working? I've never used a headset before, so this is the first. I've had the lapel clips and microphones, but this is the first headset, so now I feel like I'm official. So, you can hear me good? Everybody hear me? Great. All right. I got a thumbs up in the back, so we're good. So, that was a great introduction. I appreciate that, Pastor. You've heard it all. I've been doing this for quite a while. I've been in Community Resources Unit for about almost 3 years now, coming up on 3 years. And all I do is crime prevention programs, presentations like this, fraud. I also run the programs like Neighborhood Watch. I interface with the homeowners associations if we have issues with that. I'm basically, I consider myself the Constituent Services Director of the Oro Valley Police Department, because I just get emails about issues and then I try to resolve them. So we also run special events at Community Resources Unit. So anytime you have large events, we're pretty much helping manage those. So the bike races, the triathlon that's coming up this Saturday, the 4th of July event at James Creek Park, Naranja Park, any of the big events, we're managing those from a police standpoint. So it's a good assignment. I like it because it's flexible, but I also get to interact with people that I didn't get to on the patrol side, because when you're a patrol officer, you just deal with the worst of society. So when you're on the community resources side, you're dealing with people that actually want to interact with you, and they have questions and things like that. So, and again, thank you for having me here to talk about this today. Fraud is a huge issue. It's probably one of the biggest issues or the biggest threats that you folks will ever face. You're probably not going to have much in the way of a threat of violent crime or robbery up here in Oro Valley, but frauds, it happens every day to everybody, and we have tons of victims, unfortunately. And so the more we can do to educate folks and then have you take that knowledge and share it with people that you know is beneficial to us, because hopefully that eliminates people being victimized down the road. So let's get into it. Why do fraud schemes exist? It's big money. That's the main reason why. It's big money for fraudsters. In 2022, identity theft and fraud cost Americans as a whole $43 billion, and there were 40 million victims. So just understand that when you or somebody you know is victimized, you're only one of 40 million people that is being victimized. So don't feel like you should have known better, or you should have, don't feel horrible about it. I mean, obviously you will, but the point is, don't feel like you were the only one and somehow you were duped. 40 million people go through this every year. So unfortunately, it's a big issue. The number is actually down from $52 billion in 2021, 17% decrease. And I think it's been going down every year. I don't have the statistics for 2023 yet, but I think it goes down every year. And the reason we think it's going down is we're crediting that to consumer education and also stronger fraud protection policies and things like that. We'll get into multi-factor authentication and stuff later on, but things like that where there's extra steps that you have to go through before you can get access to your accounts and things like that. And then criminals steal an estimated $30 billion a year. So of that $43 billion, 30 of it is coming from the senior population. So we're saying 55 and up so the majority of these fraudsters are targeting seniors. They're not targeting the younger population because, the younger population is probably more computer savvy and things like that. They're targeting the senior population also because your generation grew up in a time where you could trust what somebody said. You could leave your front door unlocked, things like that. It's not that way anymore. And they know that they can take advantage of that and they can say there's somebody they're not, and you're probably going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So be aware of fraud. Chances are you or somebody you know has been victimized. I'm not going to ask anybody to raise their hand here if you've been a victim, but I can imagine somebody in here has, or somebody that has. It happens. It's so prevalent in our society that it happens a lot. I already talked about seniors being trusting. People listen to people they know. So I can give you, what not to do up here from the podium, but if you have personal experience to share or you have knowledge to share, people who friends, family, they're going to be more willing to listen to what you have to say than if they just hear something on the news or they see something online. So if you take this knowledge today and you can share that with those that I would really appreciate it, because that I can only speak to, I don't know how many's here today, let's say 80, but if you each tell one person, that's 160, and if they each tell one person, we expand. We're exponentially growing the amount of people that understand this knowledge. So, common scams. So some of these I'll go into detail later, but these are just some of the common ones. I was telling somebody else, if I put every scam up here that exists, we'd be here for 2 or 3 hours, because there's just no way to cover it all. So I'm going over the more common ones, and I'll also go over a lot of the common factors between them. So even if it's slightly different, you kind of understand the common stuff that you should look for. So grandson in jail. This is one that comes and goes, but basically you get a phone call from somebody saying, "Hey grandma, hey grandpa, it's it's me. I'm in jail, or I'm in trouble. I need some money to get me out. Whether it's I'm locked up in jail, or I have a medical bill. I was in a car accident and I need money to pay the hospital. Whatever it is, there's an urgent problem, and they're saying that they're your relative and they need you to pay them money. And what they're hoping is they're calling somebody that hasn't talked to their grandson in 3 or 4 years, and they're not sure what that person sounds like anymore. So now they're like, wait a minute, Jimmy, is that you? Yeah, it's me, it's Jimmy. And then you've given them that information, and they take that information and they just prey on your, being a family member, and you want to take care of them. So that's the first one. Grandson in jail. The next one is phone calls to collect debt. We'll get into that one on one of the other slides. So whether that's a utility company or a doctor, somebody's calling you saying, you owe us money. We're going to sue you and take the deed to your house. You owe us money. Pay it now. Law enforcement arrest warrant. This one was going around for a while, and we actually had somebody call. They were calling folks and saying they were Lieutenant John Teachout with the Oro Valley Police Department. At the time, we had a Lieutenant John Teachout with the Oro Valley Police Department. So all they did was went online, found a member of the department, and then started calling people, so that if people were like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound legit, let me search. Is there actually a John Teachout with the Oro Valley? Yeah, there was. So they were assuming that was the person. I'm going to tell you right now, the police department is not going to call you if you have a warrant to tell you have a warrant, and we'll just come find you. We're not going to. We don't generally give criminals the heads up on that one. So if anybody calls you saying you have an arrest warrant, you need to pay up. I would hang up and verify it. So next one, Social Security or Medicare. We'll get into that. Computer virus. Again, they're going to say you have a virus on your computer, we need access to your computer. Grand prize winner. So we've had people get phone calls saying you've won Publishers Clearinghouse. It's a $50,000 prize. In order for us to send you that money, we need to collect either the transfer fee or the taxes on it or whatever it is. So we need you to send us. We need you to wire us $5,000, and then we can send you the $50,000, and you'll be good. Well, you send them the $5,000, they're never going to send you anything because you didn't win anything. So if you have to pay for a prize, you didn't win a prize. The last one is overpayment by buyers. This one we don't see as much. I just threw it on here because usually when I do these presentations for people who you do a lot of electronic purchasing and selling online and stuff like that, we have instances where maybe you buy something on Facebook Marketplace or something, right? And then somebody says, I want to buy that. Or I'm sorry, you're selling something. Somebody says they want to buy it, and then they make an electronic payment to you, which is too much. So let's say the item you're selling is $50. They send you a $500 payment, and then they say, oops, I hit an extra zero. Can you send me the $450 back? So you send them the $450, and then you find out the $500 actually bounced. It didn't clear, and then you already sent them the $450. So that's just what overpayment by a buyer means. So email phishing scams, this is probably one you're going to experience the most. This is the majority of what they do. They send out emails in mass, thousands and thousands of emails. And what it'll do, it'll look like it comes from a legitimate company. So Outlook, Chase, Walgreens, Home Depot, whatever it is. It looks like it's legitimate. It has the logo on there and stuff like that. It's going to tell you there's a problem with your account and they need you to either click on an attachment or to open an attachment, click on a link, things like that. And then once you click on that, you're going to go to a website which is actually going to add malware. Whether it's an attachment or a link, it's going to add malware to your computer or something like that. So the issue is they're trying to get into your computer. Red flags on that are going to be misspelled words. Grammar doesn't make sense. It sounds like a third grader wrote it. Vague greeting like "sir," "dear sir," or something like that. If it's less specific, they're sending it again to thousands of people, so they want it to be very generic. And then suspicious email address. So I have some examples here. I think we can see pretty good on that. Can everybody see that kind of good? So at the very top, do I have a pointer here? No, that doesn't work. At the very top it says Visa, and then next to that it says do not reply at visa.com. You'll see the com is not a C-O-M, it's a C-0-M. It's just little things like that, like misspelled words or an extra space or something else. It just takes a keen eye to realize that something isn't right with it. As we go further down, generic greeting, dear Visa customer. That's just something, it might actually say that if it's a legitimate email, but if it's generic, it's something to look for. An unlikely or suspicious web address. So you'll see in there it says, please take a moment to confirm your account by going to the following address. visa.secure.com, and then it says a bunch of other stuff, and it just goes on extensively. It's probably not going to be that long in real life. It's probably going to be a relatively short link. So if it's got a bunch of letters and numbers and words and it looks suspicious, I wouldn't click on it. So we'll go to the next slide. So on this one, again, it's got Outlook. It looks like an official email. If you look up at the very top, it says Microsoft Account Team. Then in parentheses, it says Outlu, so it's missing the K, .team with 2 E's. So it's just little misspelled things like that. Most of the time you get an email, it might just say, Visa at the top as the sender. If you take your mouse and you hover it, don't click on it, but if you just hover it over whoever the sender is, it will pop up with the actual web email that it's coming from. So that's when you'll see, it might just say Outlook, Microsoft Account Team, and then you hover over it, and then you'll see the outlook.team.outlook, whatever it is. That's how you check to make sure, is this really who it's saying it's coming from? And then down in the middle there, that big blue box, it says verify your account, right? So that's all it's going to say is just that blue box. They want you to click on that. Well, if you hover over that, you'll see that the address it's going to take you to is, it's not even a word. It's something.india.com or .india. It's not an official Outlook email address. So that should be a big clue that this isn't what it says it is, okay? So here's another scam that somebody was mentioning. They had something similar today happen. Email scam where you'll get an email from somebody that says they are either a family, a friend, a neighbor, something like that. They say there's trouble. Can you go ahead and send me some money? There's many different things they could write in there. They could say, I'm on vacation and I can't access my accounts from this country. Could you just send us some money via, whatever it is, gift cards, or could you wire us some money, things like that. If you get an email from somebody saying they're a family member or friend and they're asking for money, it should be a red flag that, like, why wouldn't this person just call me? Or why wouldn't I have a heads up about this? So we actually had one of our volunteers last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago now. We had one of our volunteers up at the police station. He went on vacation to Europe, and while he was gone, his account sent an email. Somebody sent an email from his account. They hacked into his email and sent emails to other volunteers saying, hey, I need some help with this. Could you send me some money? Unfortunately, we had one of our volunteers fall for it and send money to this scammer because they fell for it and they didn't stop to think, like, does this make sense? Would this person really be contacting me via email asking me for money? So just really realize, again, it's going to be more specific, but again, it's going to be kind of random. It's going to be from somebody saying they know you. And I would just, again, if you receive an email from anybody asking for money, maybe stop. If you have their phone number, call them. If you take the time to check on these things before. I know they're gonna make it seem like it's an urgent situation and you need to send the money now, but always stop and think about it. Nothing is life or death that much that you can't take a little bit of time to check into these things. So here's one that somebody received, and it says, I really hope you get this fast. I could not inform anyone. I'm reading back here because I can't see that, but it's kind of small. Maybe I should make it bigger. I really hope you get this fast. I could not inform anyone about our trip because it was impromptu. We had to be in Manila, Philippines for a program. The program was successful, but our journey has turned sour. We misplaced our wallet and cell phone on our way back to the hotel that we lodged in, and we went for a sightseeing. The wallet contained all the valuables we had. Now our passport is in custody of the hotel management pending when we make payment. I'm sorry if I'm being an inconvenience to you, but I have only a few people to run it by now. I will be indeed very grateful if I can get a loan of $2,890 from you. This will enable me to sort out our hotel bill. And it goes on from there. So they're checking off all the boxes. You can't reach me by my phone because my phone was confiscated. We're overseas, et cetera, et cetera. So they're hoping that you go, oh my gosh, they're really in trouble. Let me send them $2,800. I mean, somebody would tell you if they were going on a trip. They wouldn't say, like, we just left to go to Manila and didn't tell anybody. Here's another one that somebody received, and this is pretty short. It just says, finally I'm moving forward, and it has a web address. And it says, in the subject line, it says, 4 photos to you from Ron Gilmore. So the person who gave this to me actually knows a Ron Gilmore. Somebody hacked into his email. And actually, I take that back. They didn't hack into it. You can read right next to Ron Gilmore. It says, Bienik Verona at a bunch of random numbers. So that's not even what they've done is they made the email address appear like it was from Ron, but actually once you hover over it, you'll see the real address. It wasn't Ron. So anyway, somebody figured out that this guy knew Ron and sent this email hoping he clicks on the link. If he clicks on that link, it's again going to take him somewhere that's either going to install malware on his computer or it's going to corrupt his, get into his computer somehow to access his files. So again, if you receive an email from somebody saying they know you, I would be very hesitant to just click on it if they're asking for money. This one's not asking for money. It's just saying, hey, I sent you some photos. You just got to be cautious with these things to realize that, before I go clicking on links or making phone calls, things like that, let me check on this and make sure this is legitimate. So if you look at the email address or that it came from, you can see it's not legitimate. There we go. Okay, so subscription renewal scam. This is another one. these go out all the time, emails saying you've, and again, it looks like it's come from a legitimate service, Norton, Antivirus, McAfee, LifeLock, Geek Squad, Best Buy, and it says your subscription has been auto-renewed. You've been charged $329. If this is an error, please call us at this number or click on this link. And so, again, they're just sending this out in mass. They're hoping people go like, yeah, I have a LifeLock account, or, but I thought I canceled it, or I've never had that before. Why am I getting, charged $329? And so they want you to call and to follow their script, which is, they're going to call you and they're going to say, oh, that's, we can take care of that for you. We can reverse the whatever. And they'll try to either get your financial information or they want to get access to your computer or something like that. So if you receive an email from somebody that it looks like it's legitimate again, but it says you've received an auto renew for your subscription, the fact of the matter is they're just sending that out. No money has been charged to you. You can verify that by looking up the actual contact information for that company and then confirming it that way. Don't ever go to the phone number or the web link that they put in the email, because those are just going to send you to them. You want to call the actual company to verify that that's legitimate. There we go. So this is an example of one. Again, it looks like an official email from Norton. It's got the logo on there. It's got the invoice number. It says your subscription with Norton LifeLock will be renewed today at $349. It will be debited from your account. The debited amount will be reflected within the next 24 hours on your statement. If you feel this is an unauthorized transaction that you want to cancel, please contact our billing department as soon as possible. And then it gives you the phone number there in red. So again, that's a phone number to them. That's not the official phone number to Norton. They just want you to call them so that they can either get your financial information or get access to your computer. Multi-factor authentication. So with the developments that we've had in security and things like that, one of the way that websites and banks have figured out they can make sure it's you and not somebody overseas accessing your account is they usually get multiple ways to contact you, whether that's email or your phone number. So what'll happen is, you probably have experienced this, right? You're going to log into Bank of America or whatever it is, and then it says, we need to confirm it's you. We've sent you an email. Please type in the code that you got through email. Or we've sent you a text message. Please type in the text message you just received. And then you type it in and then it lets you in. That's what it's doing, is it's verifying, not only did you type your password into your account, but now you've also verified that you have your cell phone and it's really you, or at least we really think it's you. And that's helped cut down on a lot of fraud. But obviously scammers are very smart people, and so they're going to try to get around that. The way that they've kind of gotten around that is that what they'll do is, while they're trying to log into your computer, so maybe they get access to your bank account somehow, they have the password, so they're trying to log into your computer so that they can transfer money to wherever. When they do that, they know it's going to give them a request for multi-factor MFA authentication. So they know when they go in there and try to do that, it's going to send you on your real cell phone a text message or an email. So what they'll do is they'll call you and say, hey, we're with Bank of America Fraud Protection. We had some unauthorized transactions on your account. We need to, we need to fix this right away. I'm going to go ahead and send you a link or a code on your cell phone, your text message. Go ahead and read that back to me so I know it's really you. And then what they're doing is they're logging in on the computer. You get the text message, you give it to them, they type it in on the computer, now they're into your account. So that's the way they've gotten around that, is they get you to give them the code. And then they say, okay, we fixed the problem or whatever, and then they hang up on you. And by the time you realize that they've transferred, your money out of your savings account. So again, if somebody calls you saying they need the MFA code, the multi-factor authentication, whether it's the text message or the email, sorry, I would be hesitant to give it to them, because that's probably a scam. I don't think a real bank would call you and say, we're going to send you a code, we need to verify it's you. They'll usually ask, can you verify the last 4 digits of your SOCH and things like that, but Again, I would be very hesitant. I would say maybe you would hang up with them and then call the real number for the bank to verify. Because if they call you and say there's an issue, say, all right, I'm gonna call I'm gonna call the bank, and then hang up with them. You call whatever phone number it is for customer service that you have for your bank, and then they can verify if there's actually an issue with your account. So that's just one thing you probably want to do if anybody's asking for MFA codes. So let's see here. Utility company scam. This one goes around. I've heard of this one relatively recently. You get a phone call or an email from somebody claiming to be with a utility company, whether that's Tucson Electric Power, Southwest Gas, Trico Electric, and they say, you're past due on your account. We didn't get your payment last month, you're past due, we're gonna shut off your service. And they might say, we're gonna shut off your service today. They might say it's gonna be in 30 minutes. What they're trying to do is get you scared to think, oh my gosh, my service is gonna get shut off, and then I'm gonna have to go through trying to turn it back on again and pay all the fees for that. So they say you're past due on your account and you need to make payment. And they'll ask for payment via very strange things like gift cards, prepaid cards, wire transfers. And they're gonna try to press you again into panicking and making a bad decision. So if you receive a phone call from somebody saying that you're past due on any bill and you owe money, number one, it's helpful to know ahead of time if you've made your payments, so keep track of your accounts and make sure you're on time with your payments. But then, if they're telling you this, again, stop and think about this. Maybe hang up with them, or while you got them on the phone, get online and look up your account online, whatever it is, and verify, no, I made my payment. So you're not duped into thinking that you need to send money to somebody because you're past due when you're actually not. Social Security or Medicare scams. I haven't heard of this much lately, but I'm sure it still exists. The scammers pretend to be government employees. Sorry, my mouth's getting a little dry. So they pretend to be government employees, and they're going to try to get you to give personal information. They might say there's something with your, there's been somebody's taking your identity, or there's an issue with it. We need to fix this issue, and they're going to try to get personal information from you. As far as I know, Social Security or Medicare is probably not going to make phone calls to you. If they do, it might just be to confirm some minor details. But if they're ever calling you and asking for personal information to verify who you are, and saying there's a problem with your account, again, I wouldn't give them any information. Again, hang up, look up the legitimate phone number for it, and call them. Charitable organizations, this isn't a big one, but it does happen. People have gotten phone calls from people saying they're with Red Cross or any other organization that is a nonprofit, and they'll say, we're looking, we're taking donations, would you like to donate to us? And they're hoping that folks are, people want to be generous, they want to help people out, and so they're hoping that folks will just say, yeah, I'll send you some money. Again, if they're asking for donations via cash, gift cards, prepaid debit cards, Amazon gift cards, whatever it is, it's probably not legitimate. Most organizations have websites now where you can go on there and you can click on a button and it'll let you donate that way. So if you're being pressured, if you say, hey, I'm not sure I want to donate today, and they start pressuring you and stuff like that, it's probably a scam. I would say it's perfectly fine to tell somebody who's calling you asking for money, hey, I'd like to think about this, or I'd like to check into this. Do you have a website that I can make a payment? Things like that, secure payment. But it should be okay if a legitimate company calls you and says, we're taking donations, and you say, I'd like to check into this. They'll probably say, oh yeah, here's our website. Let us know. Thank you for considering it, or whatever it is. But they're not going to harass you and start giving you a lot of grief because you don't want to make a donation. If they start doing that and calling you names, you can pretty much know it's a scammer. Let's see here. All right, red flags. So these are some red flags that you can, again, these cover a lot of the different scams that are out there. If you receive a phone call or an email from somebody saying there's a problem with your account, that's usually the main way they get into calling you, is they say, hey, there's an issue with your account, we'd like to take care of it today. what they're trying to do is induce panic, and they want you to get tunnel visioned on, oh my gosh, there's a problem, I need to fix this, because you're worried about the repercussions of the problem. You're not thinking about, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Like I already made that payment, or I don't have an account with this company, or whatever it is. They want you to panic and focus on what the problem is they're telling you, so that you don't think about all these other things, that you don't make smart decisions. So they might ask you personal information. If they start asking you things, I mean, legitimate companies might ask you, can you give the last 4 of your social and, whatever a password is you might have given or whatever. But if they start asking you your best friend's name, your mother's maiden name, specific stuff, full social security numbers, I wouldn't give it to them. That's probably a scam. If you receive a multi-factor authentication code and they ask you for it, again, that probably is a scam. Or if they ask you to pay any sort of fines, debts, with prepaid cards, gift cards, Amazon cards, internet cash, so like Bitcoin, things like that, that's going to be and here's the reason why they want you to do those things, the prepaid cards, the internet stuff, the Bitcoin. It's untraceable, really. So if you go and you get the Amazon card or prepaid gift card from the grocery store, you look at it, they're going to say, give me the code on it. You give them the code, that money's gone. Like, there's no way to get it back. Even if you immediately realize, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. That money's pretty much gone, because most of these scammers are overseas. So A, the US criminal justice system really can't go after them. And B, it's like I said, it's untraceable. These numbers, it's not like you're sending, wire transfers are a little more traceable because you know where it's going. But these cards, anybody can use it anywhere in the world, and once they have that information, it's pretty much gone. So if somebody's asking you to make these payments on these untraceable forms of cash or money, it's a red flag. Here's some things you can do. So you want to protect your identity by safeguarding all your personal and financial information. You want to destroy anything with your name, account information before throwing it away. So if you have a shredder at home, great. If you don't have a shredder, we do shred events usually twice a year, once in the summer, once in the December-ish time frame. You can look that information up on the Town of War Valley website. The Town of War Valley runs the shred events. Or buy a shredder and do the shredding at home. That's a good option too. Read your account statements. So like I was saying before, if somebody calls you and say, hey, you're late on your electric bill, and you're not late on your electric bill because you made the payments, then you've already stopped that scam from happening. Also read your accounts to make sure there's not fraudulent charges on there that you didn't realize. So if you see there's a charge that you didn't make, you can hopefully get that money back from your bank, or at least get the ball rolling to stop that from happening. And then those last ones for the ladies, keep your purse with you. I don't know how many times on patrol we respond to calls at the park or at the grocery store because people leave their purses in the car. Or when you're in the store, if you're going to put your purse in the shopping cart, make sure you either put it down below where it's like in the bottom part of the shopping cart, or you clip it onto the child seatbelt part so that somebody can't walk by and just grab your purse. And make sure you're aware of what's going on with your purse. If you're over here picking something off the shelf and somebody walks by and takes your wallet out of your purse, you might walk back and go, oh, my stuff's still here. And then you don't realize until you get to the register your money's gone. So keep your documents with you. Don't leave valuables. The other thing I missed was don't leave valuables in the car. I don't know why, but people leave their titles to their cars. They leave social security cards in their passports. I don't know why you'd leave that stuff in your car, but that's a horrible thing to do, because somebody can, you might leave your doors unlocked by accident one time, and that's all it takes. And somebody will get that stuff out of your glove box. Credit report. So you can check your credit report once per year by going to annualcreditreport.com, and you can look on there and see if everything's legitimate, if it's all accounts that you've opened, things that should be on there. If there's a problem with it, you can address it with the credit bureau. Another thing to consider is freezing your credit history, so that if you're not making any large purchases like houses, opening bank accounts, things like that, you really don't need your credit available for anybody to use. So you can contact the credit bureau, ask them to freeze. And my understanding is if you do it with one, they all do it. But in any case, you can freeze your credit history, and then if you need to unfreeze it, you can just contact them and they'll unfreeze it for a certain period of time. It's an extra step to go through, but if you're not planning again on purchasing a house or a car or opening bank accounts, you really don't need your credit unfrozen. So it's something to do so that way, you know, you don't become a victim of credit fraud. Again, this is just summarizing everything. If somebody calls you asking for money, stop. Especially if you don't know them. I mean, if it's a person you've talked to pretty frequently, you know, your son or daughter, and you know you talk to them on a weekly basis and they ask you for money, obviously that's different. But if it's somebody you haven't talked to in a while, or somebody you don't even know, and they're asking for money, stop and think about it. They're trying to get you to rush into a judgment and to do something before you think about it. Run it by somebody you trust. Run it by a neighbor, a friend, a son or daughter, somebody, and say, hey, I got this email, they're asking for money. Does that seem legit? You know, and then have a couple pairs of eyes on it to make sure that it's something that's legitimate. It's probably not. But again, investigate it. The last thing on there, wire money or gift cards. If they're asking for money, they're asking you to wire money to them or to send gift cards, that is like a 99% chance that's a scam. I would almost say 100%. Don't even do it, because that's how they're getting their money. Let's see, legitimate procedures. Government officials, they might call you, but they're not going to threaten you. You know, the Medicare's not going to call you and start calling, you know, threatening you and calling you names on the phone. You know, they're usually going to send, most government agencies are going to send you stuff in the mail. You'll receive mail statements and things like that. You'll rarely get phone calls, but you might every once in a while. But again, if they're asking for personal information, full social security numbers, identifying information that you might log into an account with, like what's your best friend's name, what's the school you went, the elementary school you went to, what's your favorite color, things like that, your first pet. There's no reason for them to really know that or want to know that. And then, you know, you can't get your social security number suspended. Sometimes people have called and said that. And then also they're not going to demand payment in cash, prepaid gift cards, things like that. Stay current on your accounts. Again, if you know what's going on with your bank accounts, you're current on your payments, then you'll know if somebody calls you and says there's an issue. So I got some questions here at the end, and then we'll wrap up for questions. So, is this a scam or not a scam? Somebody contacts you and says they are from your electric company. They ask to verify your name, and then they tell you there's a past due balance on your account. They say that you need to pay it immediately, or else they are going to shut off your service in the next 30 minutes. They need you to go to the store and purchase gift cards, and then call them back with gift card information. Scam? All right, scam. Correct. You passed that one. Next one. Somebody contacts you asking for a donation to their charity. It sounds like a group you've heard of. It seems real, and you want to help. They ask if you'd be willing to make a donation over the phone. You ask if they have a website that they can go to make a secure donation, and they reply yes, and they give you that information. You're then able to locate the legitimate website online. Is that a scam or not a scam? No. Doesn't sound like a scam. Finally, somebody contacts you and say they are from your fraud protection department with your bank. They say there's a security alert on your account and they need to verify some information. They verify the account name, and then they ask you to provide your account number and the name of your childhood friend so they can validate who you are. They warn you if you don't do this, then there's going to be irreparable damage to your account. Does that sound like a scam? Okay, very good. We're 3 for 3, 100%. So, last thing is people often ask, when do I report this to the police? I actually saw something, somebody posted, let me take a drink real quick. I think it was on Nextdoor. Somebody posted, I received this email. It seems like a scam. And then somebody else posted, yes, report all these immediately to the police department. And I'm like, no, because there's thousands of emails that get sent out each day, tens of thousands of emails that get sent out each day. If we got phone calls on every single email that somebody received, we'd be taking reports. We wouldn't be able to take all the reports. So the only time you should call police or law enforcement to report a fraud is if there's actionable information. So what that means to us is Do we have a real suspect? Do we have a US address that we're sure is somehow involved in this? Or a routing number. So they've asked you to wire money to them and they've given you a routing number. We might be able to follow up on that because that's probably going to a real bank account somewhere. The US address part of it, so this one is if they say, hey, we need you to send something, and they might give you an address to send it to. So something like that. So if you have actual information, we'll take the report then. Actual loss of money. So if you find out, hey, somebody did get money out of my account, or somebody did open an account using my information, my social security number, we'll take the report then. So you have actual loss of money or identity. Or if you have a problem with your account, most of the time if you report fraud to your bank, they're going to say, did you file a police report? And they're going to want you to do that. So then you might as well do it anyways if you lost money, because if you report it to your bank, they're going to ask for that police report anyways. Fraud suspects, fraudsters use technology to mask who they are and where they are. So if you receive a phone call on your phone and it says it's from a 520 number or a number, area code you recognize, it could be coming from Kenya. Like, it doesn't matter. They can create phone numbers and make it look like it's coming from somewhere else. So they could be overseas and make it look like it's from, let's say people in Oregon or something. It could make it look like it's from there. So just because it says on either your caller ID or the phone number itself, it's coming from a certain area, don't trust that. It can come from anywhere. And then the last thing is most of them are operating overseas. So Nigeria, India, those are big places. It's very difficult, if not impossible, for US law enforcement to go after those people into foreign countries, because our countries don't necessarily correlate when it comes to laws on fraud and things like that. So if you send money overseas, it's gone, pretty much. There's nothing we can do about it. And if the scammers are overseas, there's no way we can really go after them to shut them down, because there's large call centers and things like that that are overseas where these callers are coming from. So just realize that it's not always who they say they are, and once that money's sent, it's very hard, if not impossible, for us to get it back. And then the last thing is, does anybody have any questions? So anybody, just go ahead and raise your hand. Yes?
I've received phone calls from various police organizations asking for donations. Are these for real or are they scams?
I don't know the answer to that, because there are, in some places, I'll tell you around here there aren't. I've gotten those as well, and they usually say they're from a national organization, and they sound like they've got like an East Coast accent, so I assume they're not from around here. But I know that our police department, nor any police department that I know of around here, makes phone calls asking for donations. I can't say it's a scam for sure. All I can tell you is when I get those phone calls, I say, I appreciate that, but I'm not going to make a donation today, and I hang up. If you really want to make a donation to a law enforcement agency, again, look it up, whether it's FOP or one of the other organizations. Look up the legitimate website or legitimate information and make the donation that way. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
I'm from Wisconsin, and in about the last 6 weeks, I must get 6 or 7 calls a day about senior benefits. And I block them,
Mm-hmm.
I just hang up on them, and it continues. How do I stop these crazy things?
Well, on your cell phone, you can block phone numbers, but I don't know if it comes from the same number. If it doesn't, then that's the problem.
It's all different areas of this.
Yeah. Have you done the do not call list thing? Okay. That's the only advice I can give you, is either block the phone number or do not call list. Everybody's aware of the do not call list? Okay. So that's the only thing I can tell you is do those two things. If I receive a phone call from somebody I don't recognize, I don't even answer it, because if they need to leave me a message, they'll leave me a message. So I would say I probably get 5 to 10 scammers calling a day. So I wouldn't even answer the phone if you don't recognize the number.
Sometimes one company called and they said it was Wisconsin Attorney General's office. How can I what did your call?
Yeah.
Hang up right away.
Yeah. If they need to get hold of you, they'll find a way, whether it's leaving a message or something like that. So I saw another hand. Yes, sir.
I'm under the impression that one of the reasons there are so many cases of fraud is that people who
True.
Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yep, like I was saying, they're overseas. 90-something% of them are overseas. They know where the arm of the law can go and where it cannot, and then that's where they set up shop. So the only thing we can do is protect ourselves or make ourselves more knowledgeable about what they're trying to do, and then not fall for it. So the phone calls, unfortunately, unless there's some way the U.S. government and legislators can, work with the phone companies, to eliminate these phone calls. I don't know. That's outside of my scope of, knowledge. But yeah, we just need to make ourselves more knowledgeable of these things. Yes.
Sometimes you get a phone call and they call you by name. Is this, and they use your name.
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond?
Yeah, I personally, if somebody says, "Hey, is this Mr. Snyder?" Like, if I don't, I might say, "Who is this calling?" I might not reply to them. I might just say, "Who is this calling?" And if it's a legitimate phone call, they'll say, "Oh, it's me." So it's funny, from when I call people sometimes, for whatever reason, when I call from my desk phone, if I'm trying to call somebody about, Neighborhood Watch or whatever it is, sometimes my phone number shows up as either, what's the word? Unlisted, or it doesn't show up as an actual number. And so the people are very hesitant to answer the phone, but they do. And then I'll say, I usually try to, start my phone conversations with, "This is Officer Snyder from Moorvalley Police Department. I'm trying to get a hold of, Jim Smith regarding whatever." And then they may go, "Oh, that makes sense because I left a message," or whatever it is. But if I call and say, "Hey, this is Jim Smith," almost all the time they go like, "Well, who is this?" Or they'll hang up on me. And I'm like, okay, I got to call them back and explain who I am. So you might just not answer who you are, or verifying who you are, but you might say, "Who is this?" And then they can hopefully explain why they're calling you.
I think I've heard, do not use the word yes.
Well, that's another one, because it's, "Can you hear me?" I haven't heard that one in a while, but it was going around last year where you get a phone call and they would say, "Hello, are you there?" And then you'd be like, "Yeah, hello, can you hear me?" And then it would be this recording that's trying to get you to talk. And I've heard things from, they're trying to record your name so they can use it when they actually call your bank, and then your bank says, whatever, they can use that to replicate your voice. I don't know. I don't know what the purpose is for that, but it is very suspicious. And whenever I get the "Can you hear me?" phone call, I just hang up because it's obviously a scam. Yes, ma'am.
He asked about yes. Don't say yes to anything,
Mm-hmm.
because they do record that. And they'll use it to say you said yes to whatever it was they wanted.
True. Yeah, they could do that.
Don't say yes.
Yeah, so there you go. Don't say yes if anybody calls you asking, a question where it would be replied with, "Can you hear me?" Yes. Ma'am, yes.
I used to work for the Bell System.
I
used to work at Bell System. I handle nuisance calls.
Okay.
We all try to be polite and answer the phone. The best thing to do, especially if you've got caller ID, is don't answer it if you don't recognize them.
Yeah.
That's the very best thing to do, because if you answer, they know that somebody answered, even if you hang up right away, and then that gets out in the
They know it's an active phone.
right,
Yeah.
and you'll get more and more of them. So the best thing to do is not to answer. And you don't have to be polite. You don't have to say, "I'm really sorry, that's not the right person." If you don't recognize them, just hang up.
So,
I have a question too.
okay.
Our issue isn't with us trying to be careful. Thank you. Our problem isn't with us being careful, but we've had a credit card stolen where they actually made a duplicate with my husband's name on it. And we've had a company that, my husband's company accidentally got the personal information out there. And we had a healthcare company that accidentally got all of my information out there. So what can you do about those kinds of things?
I wish I could say there's an answer for everything, but there's 100 ways, a million ways that scammers can get information. So anytime you get those notifications or letters in the mail that there's been a breach of information for whatever company that you've used in the past, which you probably used 100 companies, and so you get a notification that whatever company there's been a data breach, contact the credit bureaus and get free credit monitoring or whatever it is. Anytime there's these breaches of information, I mean, who knows what they're getting? They're getting your name, your address, your phone numbers, your account information, and then they can use that for whatever they want. So I wish I could tell you that here's what you do to prevent that from happening, but all I can tell you is check your credit history, freeze your credit history if you can, make sure that your accounts are accurate, nobody's charging anything to your accounts. Just be vigilant. That's all you can really do, is just try to make sure, and then again, shred your documents that you have, but that's not going to prevent everything. We're in the digital age, and all your stuff is on servers somewhere. Whenever you've had an account with any organization, your medical, hospital, doctor's office, whatever, it's all on these servers, and if there's a data breach because somebody's hacked into the system, that information's out there. All I can tell you is just keep on top of things and try to prevent them from getting, spot them at the beginning and prevent them from becoming bigger issues later on. So, any other, yes ma'am?
How do you freeze your credit?
I don't know exactly. If you go to the credit bureau, it'll have that information, or you can Google it. How do I freeze my credit history? But the credit bureaus, one of the three, will have that information.
You can go to you can go to all three of them online and lock your account online.
Yeah. Has anybody done that? Frozen there? Yes. Is that accurate?
Well, I think I went to each credit. I had to go to each one, and this is about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm gonna tell you, if you freeze it, make sure you keep that long code, you won't get back in.
Yeah. She said make sure you have the code to get back in, because
They give you a great big long
Is that right?
code that you
Jeez.
have to keep. That's in our safe.
yeah, make sure that's duplicated and put in safe places where you don't forget it. Yes, sir.
There are also companies that will safeguard many of these things, such that any time there's any change made, or even an inquiry
Yeah.
on your credit report, you are immediately notified.
Yep.
If someone reports an address change, you're immediately notified. If your telephone number shows up on the dark web, you're immediately notified.
There you go.
Um,
It's probably
So-
you're probably talking about like LifeLock or something like that, or I know they do identity theft protection service.
Also,
Yeah.
a prediction for the future, this is going to become much more complex with the advent of artificial intelligence, where voices can be duplicated exactly, so on and so forth.
Unfortunately, you're correct. It's probably going to get worse and more tricky. I like to think I'm able to spot some of these scams, but it's going to get to the point where you're going to get phone calls from people who sound exactly like somebody that you know, and how do you know that's a scam? So,
Officer,
yes.
prescription pill bottles have all your information on, your boarding pass, getting off of the airplane. I always shred all of that stuff. Ladies filling up to the service station, filling up gas, leave their purse in the right seat, the door's unlocked, somebody can come by and grab their purse.
Good points.
Maybe just a couple more, and then we will. Carol, you want to just?
I just wanted to say, that lady asked about notifying the bureaus.
Mm-hmm.
She asked about notifying the bureaus. This booklet that you have out there on the table has.
Does that say how to do that?
It's right in there on page 30.
Okay. And I know we ran out of those because I think I don't know if it was 30 or 40, but if we need more of those, I can get more of those to the church to hand out. Let me know if anybody needs any afterwards.
Just two more questions here and then.
Okay.
I was told that my telephone number and my email are on the dark web, and I get calls for whoever it was that stole my name and everything.
Mhm.
Since I know who they keep calling for, can I undo that somehow?
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, I know that my name is, I was told that my name and my email have been compromised, that they are on the dark web.
Okay.
So I keep getting these calls for Pam Hostler.
Uh-huh.
There's 2 people that have my telephone number.
Okay.
I get calls specifically for Earl something or other and a Pam Hostler. Are those the people that stole my telephone number?
I don't know.
So there's really no
I
way
mean,
that
I get
can
phone calls on my phone
undo
for
it.
my sister, and I don't know how that would have ever happened. So I'm just saying, like, there's I guess there's several answers to what it could have been a transposed number, or they got it wrong, or the area code's wrong, or somebody had that phone number years ago and it hasn't been updated. All I would say is, if that's the limit of the problem is your email or your phone number's wrong, I know it's a pain, but you can change those. Change your phone number and change your email address, and then you don't have that problem anymore.
And one last question here. Oh, you're okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And again, just to remind you that if you ever get an email or a text that says it's Pastor Tim from church and I need to have you go out and buy gift cards at Walmart, it's not me, okay? Please, we've had people who have fallen for that, and it makes me sick every time it happens, and so forth. We will never ask you to buy gift cards or credit cards or whatever it is. And so please, we just want to thank Officer Snyder for being here today. Can we give him a round of applause today? Anything else that you have?
Thank you.
We're so blessed here in Oro Valley with our police department and those that protect us on a daily basis. So thank you so much for your service to our community. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah.
And grab some of the information that Officer Snyder brought with him today. It is very useful information, and like I think was mentioned back here, it's only going to get more complex as we move along. But we can help each other, we can protect each other, and it's great to have that conversation today with Officer Snyder. So thanks again, and have a wonderful day. Everybody keep safe, and we'll see you at church.